day, good morning, good evening, good everything. G'day, my friends. So nice to see you. Shalom if you are, if you're Jewish and you're joining and you want to explore more of your history down under. Hello, ciao, hola, ni hao, konnichiwa if you're from everywhere else in the world. Bonjour. So nice to see you all. G'day, TM, Catherine, Suzanne, Risa. So nice to see you guys. Honestly, I appreciate you guys. I'm excited for this. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Lynn. So we're going to, hello, Deanne. So we are going to now explore the oldest synagogue in whole Australia. It's great. Not only that, we're going to explore from inside, and not only that, we're going to be introduced and greeted. We're going to knock on the door, and then the president of the shul will let us in. Shul is just a Yiddish word for synagogue. He will let us in, and you and me are going to be co-interview. You can see I'm a little dressed for the occasion, so I'm wearing one of these. And he'll, you and myself, we all, I think, we're expecting a few people. All of us will be co-interviewing him. Suzanne, what do you call the cap? You call this a kippah or a yarmulke. It depends on which version of Hebrew you want to speak, whether you're saying it in Yiddish or in Hebrew. Hebrew is a kippah, Yiddish is a yarmulke. Hey, Ruth, great to see you. Deanne, this will be awesome, Deanne, definitely will. So I'm excited. We'll knock on in about 4 minutes, maybe a little bit later. And but here we are in Hobart, which has a very small Jewish community. I was actually I was on my way to the shul. It was a 25-minute walk, which is great. But as I was walking here, I was like, let me just get him, a bottle of kosher wine as a gesture of gratitude for hosting us and teaching us a little bit more about the Jewish community here. So I was like, and in Melbourne, we're very spoiled for choice. In Melbourne, you just go to a random liquor shop and you buy I know, Ruth, I forgot to bring a bobby pin with me. So now I'm just going to have to be avoiding the wind at all costs. So, and in Melbourne, we're spoiled. You go to any bottle shop, you can find yourself a kosher wine. Nowhere to be found. It was probably easier. It would have probably been easier for me to find a needle in a haystack. So along the way, I saw a guy wearing one of these, and I stopped him and I was like, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a liquor shop that sells kosher wine anywhere nearby?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "No, you have to order it online, or you have to walk for 40 minutes." And I was like running late, so I was like, "Nah, I can't do that." Hey, mate. Sorry, just one sec. Good, how are you?
Good. So we're Jewish, we live up in Sydney, obviously we're only here, is there any chance of having a look inside?
Yeah, not right now because we're filming, eventually, but we're just filming now. We're just promoting the Hobart Synagogue. If you want to come back in an hour.
We're on a plane in an hour, yeah.
Oh! Yeah, sorry.
We just stick our nose in, have a look.
Yeah, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yeah, is that cool? Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you so much.
No worries, guys. Okay, so in 5 minutes we'll step in, and anyway, so what was I saying? Anyway, so I saw this guy, right, and I asked him, "So, do you have any kosher wine?" He was like, "Oh, it's a long walk." I was like, "Oh well, doesn't matter, no big deal." And then I asked him, "Oh, so have you had an accent?" He said to me, "Yeah, I'm a Spanish Jew. I'm from Spain, and I'm living in Hobart now." And I was like, "Oh, lovely." I thought he was dark, so I thought he was probably Israeli. And then he was saying to me that he's starting a new retreat, a kosher retreat, which is something I've never actually heard of. A kosher retreat for Jews who are visiting Hobart or live in Hobart, and which you just get to relax. There are spas, there are massages, there's all these kind of things, amazing. And at the same time, all the food is kosher, and they meditate, they engage in Jewish prayer and everything. So I thought that was a fascinating concept. He said it was called, and I'm going to message him and I'll gather the details. His name was Yehuda Samuels, and he said that it was called magicalretreat.org. So I think that's the website off the top of my head. I was in a massive hurry. But yeah, they really are popular, aren't they? They get so I think he just tapped into something that is not very prominent on this side, in this side of the world, and good on him. So hopefully we'll hear back from him sometime. He could give us a little tour of his retreats. Anyway, we're here in the Hobart Shul. We will be stepping in shortly. I'll show you what it looks like on the outside, from the outside. Now, I think they have locked this. I can't really step out at the moment because he doesn't want what happened just before. It's a very popular synagogue, so people will always walk in if they see the gates open. But that's what it looks like on the outside. And at the end of this tour, we'll step out and we'll get a better long shot of the shul. Conveniently located next to a police station next door. So there's a police station right next door. And interestingly, and I'm sure Jeff who's a very nice guy, will explain that to you. The original land was actually bought by a Jewish convict from Scotland by the name of Judah Solomon in the late 1830s. So he bought the land, and then he realized that, GJ, that's a great question. We'll ask Jeff if it is for safety reasons, but I'm not sure if it is for... Shoshana, sorry I missed your previous question. Yes, I am Jewish, yes. So I'm not religious or anything, but my pleasure, Barbara. So nice to see you all. And so he bought the land, and then he realized that at the time, the council did not fund or the government did not really provide any support to any other religion other than Christianity, because Judaism, they were like, we're not going to support you if you want to start your own synagogue. You have to do it on it. So he had all this money, and he built this synagogue that we're in now on his land. So this was part of his backyard. And he, yeah, so that's an interesting story. I'm sure, and now apparently the police actually own this block. So it's in good hands. Okay, so GJ is asking by ethnicity or by both. By both. I'm by faith Jewish and I am ethnicity Jewish. I just don't practice as often. And yeah, but I guess you could say I eat kosher by default because I'm vegan. I mean, vegan food is kosher food. So anyway, thanks again for having you guys here with me. Hopefully the gentleman who just walked in will step out in a minute, and then we can knock on the door and Jeff will let us in. My name's Alex. For those who are meeting me for the very first time, you can follow my channel it's my pleasure taking you guys. You can follow my channel by clicking on the follow button up here. If you want more tours, I might do a tour of Melbourne's oldest synagogue sometime next month. This is definitely a Hey Go First. And so if you're fascinated by Jewish history, we'll do a Jewish history tour and we'll interview the rabbi in the Melbourne synagogue. And then one day we'll head to the Jewish synagogue sorry, I got confused by the synagogue in Sydney. What were you saying? I'm from the eastern suburb of Sydney, 4 kilometers away from Bondi, which is a Jewish hood in Sydney. Yeah, that's true. Bondi is a Jewish hood in Sydney. Ruth, much easier to travel as a vegan than someone who... Yes, that is true, Ruth, 100%. Thanks for the tip, Shoshana, and thanks to all of you who have tipped me. Thanks, Barbara, for your tip. I appreciate it, honestly. I'm considering giving half my tips, profits, as a donation to the synagogue, because they're non-profits. So all of the tips will go towards the synagogue. Alternatively, additionally, if you want to donate in your own time, in your own way, you can also go to their website. Let me just say goodbye to these guys. A second. See you guys. What do you think? It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, mate. See ya. Okay. All right, let's do it, my friends. Let's step into the Hobart Synagogue, Hobart Shul. Now, we're going to walk around. Jeff's going to show us different things. It's beautiful. And then at some point, we're going to sit down. There's a nice little table with a nice backdrop. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to ask Jeff questions, but I'm going to ask for your help to interview me because you're my co-interviewers. So you're going to join me. We're both going to ask questions. We're going to do a little Q&A, and you can teach us more about this synagogue and more about the history and more about its significance to the Jewish community, the very, very small Jewish community here in Hobart. I think it's... so let's just check out the sign over here. Hobart Synagogue. consecrated in 1845, oldest synagogue in Australia, and it's a progressive synagogue. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But then they've also got Orthodox Shabbat services. So it caters for the whole Jewish community. So, as you may know, there are different denominations in Judaism. So thanks, guys. Thanks for being here again. I want to thank you. Oh, no. Almost lost my kippah. And let's step in. So when Jews step into places, the first thing they do is they'll touch this and they'll kiss their fingers, because this is a mezuzah. And let's just step in now. And Jeff's going to open the door and let us through. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having us. My friends, this is Jeff over here, as the president of the synagogue, the congregation. Thank you so much for letting us be here. So far we've got 83 people. So we've had a lot more booked, but yeah, people come in as they go. People are saying hi to you. Jeff will show us around, explain a little bit about the synagogue's history, a little bit about the Jewish community here in Hobart, and then we will ask him some questions, and we're all good. So let's, Ruth saying shalom from Israel. Got people from, where are you all from? We've got a few Americans here as well. I mean, this would be the most convenient time for the United States. Yep. Lorraine from Canberra. So we've got our question. Is it mandatory to wear a kippah? GJ is asking. Is it mandatory to wear a kippah?
I wouldn't say mandatory, but it certainly is appreciated.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, certainly during services, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We've got Marsha from Virginia, the US, MK from Chicago, Colette from Toronto, the UK, Detroit, Washington. Wow. Anyone from where you are?
I lived in
Baltimore?
I lived in Arlington, Virginia for a bit, but yes, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Originally, I've been here about 10 years.
There you go, Randy. So we've got another Baltimorean, I believe. I don't know if that's how you call him. Here, no, what are the odds? Baltimorean. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, we'll just follow you and you can show us around. Thanks, guys. And I'll just remind you guys that half the tips I receive will go as a donation to the synagogue. And you're also welcome in your own time and leisure and however you'd like to also contribute through the website. What's the website again?
HobartSynagogue.org.
HobartSynagogue.org. Okay, cool. So we'll just follow you.
Welcome to the oldest synagogue in Australia. It's consecrated on a day that's easy for me to remember, 4 July, 1845.
That is very easy to remember.
Yes. And
wow.
Take a bit of a look around.
I'll give you guys, check it out. The first impression that I got from stepping in is very cozy and it just has this very welcoming feel to it.
Yes, it's certainly not a huge synagogue. It's different than when I'm used to growing up, where for high holidays you had rows and rows of seats.
Yes, likewise.
Yes.
We'll just pan around, give you guys a 360-degree view. Beautiful. So 4th of July, 1845.
Yes.
Who was it founded by?
Look, there were a group of, there were probably about 300 Jews living in the colony of what was called Van Diemen's Land at the time.
Yeah.
As many of your viewers would know, Van Diemen's Land was originally a penal colony. Mm-hmm. So there were many Jewish convicts here. And about the 1830s and 1840s, there started to be some Jewish free settlers who came. Mm-hmm. So it was basically a mix of Jews that came together to form the congregation.
That's beautiful. It's a great way to get started. Lovely. And well, let's look at some of the questions. We've had a few questions already. Let's see. So, what is the Jewish population of Hobart?
Well, we know so the census numbers for Australia were recently released just a couple months ago, and we know that there was 376 people who identified as Jewish in Tasmania.
Wow, the whole Tasmania?
Yes.
Wow.
And that may not sound like much, but the last census in 2016 had 250 people.
Wow.
So for whatever reason, we're very excited about that. It was a pretty good rise.
Yeah, that's impressive. What do you think led to the rise?
Look, I know that there are some young families, with COVID and all, that are looking for. I mean, Hobart is a much smaller city than
Yes.
Sydney and Melbourne, who are looking for a more laid-back lifestyle. I mean, it's beautiful scenery here, a lot less people.
Yes.
So
Yes,
we know
absolutely.
that there are some young families that have moved here, which we're very excited about, and some retirees as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And what's the population? How many seats? How many people can be seated here?
We could probably, if you count what we call the ladies' gallery upstairs, you could fit maybe 180 people or so. That's a nice number.
That's a nice number.
Yeah.
It's almost the whole community.
Yeah. We do have, some special events where we get close to that number, but yes.
Beautiful. Let's see. Okay, so this leads us to our next. We've got a few questions. Reese is asking, was it started as a Sephardic synagogue?
No.
No. It was by a Scottish gentleman, right?
Well, the
Judah Solomon?
architect was a Scottish convict.
Yes.
Who was not Jewish.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, cool.
So where we're standing now, there's a building a couple doors down from here that actually was restored about 34 years ago. It's a mansion called Temple House.
Yeah.
It was owned by a Jewish convict from a place in England called Sheerness. So this convict was named Judah Solomon. He actually, despite the fact that he was a convict, he had a fair amount of money. He was a successful business person. So he lived in the mansion a couple doors down. The Jewish community, I guess probably late 1830s, petitioned the then governor at the time of Van Diemen's Land for a synagogue. Unfortunately, we were told, no, we can only do that for Christians, for churches. So Judah Solomon, he stepped up. He said, well, you can have my garden and you can build a synagogue there. So that's where we're standing right now.
Wow.
And
What a kind gesture.
yes. And
Lovely.
we have a marble tablet up here to recognize Judah's generosity towards donating his land and also a lot of money for the synagogue. And we know, so I actually work for the Australian Jewish Historical Society, so I read a lot of old newspaper articles and things like that.
Great.
And I've read there are a lot of newspaper articles that document in detail the opening of the consecration of the synagogue. And we know that this tablet was in the synagogue when it was consecrated on 4 July 1845.
Wow. Significant historical piece.
Yes.
Let's catch up on some more. We've got a lot of questions. People are excited to ask you questions. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, where were they originally from, the Jews who came to Tasmania? I guess from Europe, right?
Well, mostly from England. I mean,
Yeah.
given that it was a British penal colony.
Yeah.
And they were sent, shouldn't be under the impression that they were sent out for heinous crimes. And mostly it was. I'm not a historian, but they wanted to move people here. So it might have been just minor like pickpocketing or something.
Yeah. It's harsh, isn't it? 7 years for stealing.
Transported to the other side of the world. So mostly from England, but not all. The first Hungarian, who is believed to be the first Hungarian free settler who came to Australia, was a man named Isaac Freeman. He was one of our original members.
Yeah.
And we have a board here with all the original members. There was also a man named David Heckscher, who was from Denmark, a Jew from Denmark.
Oh, beautiful.
But yes, the vast majority were from England.
Beautiful. Well, I'm part Danish, so I appreciate that one. Let's see. So the next question is, which leads us to what you were going to show me when I first got here, which is, what are those big white scrolls about?
Oh, sure.
We'll follow you.
So this is what we call our Czech Torah scroll. We received it in 1993, I believe. Basically, the story is that in the area of what's now the Czech Republic and the region Bohemia, there are a lot of little synagogues and Jewish communities scattered around. And when the Nazis came and pillaged and destroyed pretty much everything, they sent their Judaica, including Torahs, for safekeeping in Prague, which was about 50 miles north of where these communities were. And then after the war, they were found basically just used in an old warehouse. And a British Jewish organization said, these should be preserved. It's important in history.
Definitely.
And as a gesture, they sent them to synagogues all over the world.
Wow.
So there's many synagogues that have these check Torah scrolls, and it's basically a permanent loan.
Yeah.
So, it's an important display and memorial we have to remember what happened in Europe.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Let's see. Okay. I've never had so many questions being fired at me in an interview. So let's see. Do the women sit on the balcony or on one side of the shul?
Sure. So I don't know if you want to show what we call our ladies' gallery.
Okay.
Now, certainly when the synagogue first opened, we know that
Can I stand on this?
Sure, of course. We know that the women went upstairs, who were in traditional Judaism, the females sit apart from the males, and we know that was when the synagogue first opened.
Yeah.
Over the years, it depends. I suppose it depends on which service it was and which time, but we know that, like say in the 1950s, it was described to me that the services were like middle of the road. So sort of part Orthodox, and I believe the women sat on one side and the men on the other side down here. For now, we have, so the synagogue, given that we're the only shul in Hobart, we try to accommodate all Jews. We have both what's described as progressive or reform services and also Orthodox as well.
Wow. That's not something you hear about every day.
No, but it's very important to us that we try to accommodate
I love that. That's
all
great.
Jews. We're not so much into the denominations here, but for the progressive services, it's certainly egalitarian seating. Women and men sit together. Women lead services. For Orthodox, the men sit on one side and the women on the other. I believe when they have a minyan, which is 10 men, where they can read from the Torah, the women do go upstairs. And it's all preference. I mean, I know that some women who attend the Orthodox services, they are used to sitting upstairs in the part, so they go up there.
Yeah,
but,
beautiful.
Try to whatever people are comfortable with.
Could we have a look upstairs, just see what it looks like? Okay, guys, we'll just check the upstairs. In the meantime, I'll just sift through some more of these questions. Great questions, by the way, I've got to say. Okay, so, you got it. All right, there you go. Just follow Jeff. Okay. So, how large is the congregation, Paul is asking?
So right now we have about 82 members.
82 members.
Like the census numbers doesn't sound like much, but it has gone off in recent years, so we're happy about that.
Nice. Do they have Sunday or Hebrew school
I'm
offerings?
very glad you asked that question, because we are fortunate that, including my own children are 5 and 7. We have had a sort of a resurgence of children around. And last year, for the first time in many years, we started a lovely Israeli lady, Michal, leads a once-a-month Sunday class for the kids, which is very important to us. I mean, it's quite challenging here. We haven't had a permanent rabbi since the 1950s.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what were you doing? People would just lead their own prayers?
Lay leaders.
Yeah.
I mean, still lead services. But as far as, teaching kids, the Jewish customs and Hebrew, it's very good that we have this once-a-month class, and a lot of it warms my heart. A lot of our older members come up and say, "Oh, it's so great to have kids around. It hasn't been like this in so long." So it certainly bodes well for the future.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. Okay. I'll give you guys a nice, beautiful view from atop this section. Melanie, after all the ornate churches we see on Hagar, this is more like a chapel, she says. Interesting comment. Why is a synagogue referred to as a shul from German shul? I believe so. It's more of an Yiddish word.
Like school?
Yeah. Something along those lines. Ruth is asking, what brought you to Hobart?
So my lovely wife is a Sydney sider. So she was getting basically her PhD in law from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. in America. We met there.
Yep.
Cool. Actually, the first time we came to Australia to meet her family in Sydney, we came to Tasmania for a week on holiday.
Yeah.
We actually attended Yom Kippur services here.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea that I would be coming back and living here, and much less becoming president. But my wife, Lisa, so she got a job. She was offered a job at the university in 2013. So we happily settled here, and it's not something I predicted, but we absolutely love living in Tasmania and Hobart.
I can see why. It's just such a charming, stunning, beautiful town.
Thank you.
City, sorry, not town. Used to be a town. I've been talking a lot about Hobart history, and they used to refer to it as Hobart Town, so I think that stuck a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. Let's see, a synagogue. Okay, I'm just sifting through comments. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's see. So where did the first Jewish convicts you are mentioning? So we answered that, where the origins are from. I'm just scrolling down, guys. Just bear with me.
There are many of our convicts were from the East End of London.
The East End of London.
Yes.
That's specific. Had trouble. Okay. So Sue, sorry if I missed this, but what is the Jewish population in Hobart now? We already answered that. So.
Well, I actually haven't looked it up Hobart specifically, but we know for the whole state, it's 376 people in the last census. 376.
Wow. Shoshana, do you get a minyan? 10 men needed to say certain prayers during the service every Shabbat?
No, it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
It's actually this time of year where the weather's a bit nicer, and now we're starting to have cruise ships again, so tourists definitely help with having a minyan.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty rare. Certainly in the depths of the cold in July, there's not a lot of the services can be not particularly well attended.
Yeah, well, that's...
And it is known that we are not only the oldest shul in Australia, but the coldest as well.
Yes,
so,
I got to attest that.
Challenging time.
I can imagine. In which direction is Hebrew writing read from? Hebrew is read from right to left, Dan. It's the opposite of English. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm just trying to catch up. Okay. Well, in the meantime, while I'm trying to catch your questions, let's just capture some beautiful shots. So there's this feature on the platform called postcards. Okay. So you can just capture a postcard and then you can save the picture for, just to look back on. So we'll just have a look.
Rod goes back to the 19th century.
Really? Yeah. Wow. So not long after the shul was actually built?
Yes. I don't know the exact year, but we know that it goes back quite a while. So it's the rug downstairs.
Wow. It is a nice rug, and you do get a sense that it could be from the 19th century. Absolutely. Okay. Queen V is asking, am I allowed to come to synagogue if I'm only unofficially Jewish? You can come to Jewish. Yeah, you can come either way. Everyone's welcome.
We just ask that you contact us ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I'm just scrolling through. A lot of repeat questions. I'm just scrolling through those. Jeff's already told us what led him to come to Tasmania. Okay, I'll answer Shoshana's question in a second. And what is this?
So this is what we call our boardroom or investor room.
It's a boardroom, investor room.
Sometimes have meetings here or the kids meet, but we have a lot of artifacts and pictures. So there was a chief rabbi of England back in the day.
This gentleman? This guy? Yeah.
That one looks like he goes back quite a while.
Yeah.
Lots of men with beards.
Yes. It's the chief rabbi of Britain.
So this man is Samuel Benjamin, who is actually the grandson of Judah Solomon, who we mentioned before, one of the founders of the synagogue.
Oh, wow.
So Samuel Benjamin, around the turn of the century, he was the president of the congregation. He lived in Temple House. He inherited it from his grandfather. He was also an alderman for the city of Hobart.
Oh, wow.
Apparently a very strict man. He used to stand outside the shul, and when people were coming in, he would admonish people if they weren't properly dressed. So he was pretty serious.
Yeah.
He looked pretty serious in that photo.
He does. Took his job very seriously.
Yes.
And synagogue chambers.
Yeah, so that's our original secretary, Phineas Moss.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he received a testimonial when he retired as secretary. There's actually a picture of him over there, which is crooked. So.
Oh. And this is him?
Yes. Phineas came from, I'm trying to think, it'll come to me later. He came from England. I can't think of his exact on right now, but he was a free settler. He was believed to be the first Jewish public servant in Australia. He was a police clerk for a remote town in the central part of Tasmania called Bothwell. He eventually came to Hobart. We believe that he arranged the prayers for the consecration in the synagogue and also inscribed a lot of the Hebrew that you see around. He was quite a learned man. He used to lead academic lectures on various esoteric topics. And he printed the first Hebrew calendar in Australia.
Now that's something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Quite the academic.
What else do we have here?
Some more chief rabbis. Dr. Nathan Marcus Adler, Rabbi his son Herman Adler.
The chief rabbis of
England, yeah.
Of England, yeah.
Yeah. We fell under that for most of our existence.
That is true. That is true.
I don't know how well you can see this picture, but it's an old photo of Temple House, which I mentioned before, which is actually just a couple doors down from here. So it was the mansion that Judah Solomon lived in. The synagogue would be somewhere back there. But,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this is a J&F certificate for planting trees in Israel.
Oh, yes.
This is a testimonial for our secretary around the turn of the century, Henry Ansell. This is a very historical J&F certificate, I think it's believed to be the oldest in Australia. Joseph Solomon, I think this is like 1890s or so, he received the certificate for planting trees in Israel.
Wow.
Some of our old members. Now, this is our most prized possession up here. I don't know. Hopefully, you can see this good. But this is an original ticket to the consecration of the synagogue.
Wow!
It was a very well-attended event, so of course you needed a ticket. And we believe a descendant of one of our original founders presented this to the congregation sometime in the 19th century. And it's obviously very important to us to have this.
Wow. Now that is amazing. Thank you. Thanks for showing us this. Well, Barbara, you can actually attend this tour in person next time you're in Hobart. For sure. Okay.
Just ask we prefer tour requests to come through our website.
Yeah.
And we happily, especially this time of year, we get many tourists throughout the week.
Beautiful. Okay. I'm just trying to catch up with the comments. So this is in memory of deceased buried in Old Jewish Burial Ground. Okay, yeah. Beautiful.
That one's a bit of a long story.
Yeah, no, I mean, the plate, it speaks for itself.
Yeah. There was an old Jewish burial ground back in the 19th century. And then around 1870, there was cemeteries all throughout Old Hobart town. And for obvious reasons, they said, we can't continue to have all these cemeteries scattered around town. Let's all consolidate to the main cemetery in a place called Canadian Bay, a little north of Hobart.
Yeah.
Yes, we kept the cemetery for a while, but then eventually moved over all the tombstones and what we could to the new cemetery. And this is the plaque that they made.
Beautiful. Is there a Chabad anywhere?
There is one up in Launceston up north. Launceston is a city about 2 hours north of here.
Okay. Beautiful. And what is this what the rabbi used to wear?
Yeah, the rabbi's robe, the minister's robe.
Wow. Beautiful.
This piece of art was by a man named Joe Rose. He was a Buchenwald survivor of the Holocaust. And via London and Sydney, he came and lived in Hobart. And he was a pretty well-known artist. He liked to paint Jewish letters in an artistic way. He kindly donated this painting to the synagogue.
I haven't seen one of those in almost over a decade since I visited Israel a long time ago. So that's beautiful. Lovely. I'll follow you. Have you had bat mitzvahs, or marriages here recently?
We had a bar mitzvah last February. It went very well. The kid's mom is a clarinet player in the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, wow.
It was
That would have been fantastic.
We also, actually, in the same month, had a wedding of a couple that recently moved here from Sydney.
Oh, Wow.
Yeah.
Marlene is saying that you have kind eyes. Okay. Yeah, Suzanne, Jeff is not the rabbi, he's the president.
Yes.
And let's see, I'll just scroll through some more.
I've had some politicians address me as rabbi, and they quickly
GJ, yeah, so we've answered that. Beautiful. There's something special about synagogue, something, it's a beautiful feeling when you step into one. I can't hear everything he's saying. Where did he say? The Chabad is in Launceston, Shoshana?
It's a city about 2.5 hours north of here.
Yeah. Second largest in Tasmania.
Yeah.
How many families belong? Mostly old, young?
It's a combination. I think there's definitely been, which we're excited about. I'm nothing against old people, but we are starting to get some young families in. So, obviously everyone's happy about that. It's just some optimism for the future.
Absolutely. Suzanne is asking, do synagogues have a choir or organ? So, Reform synagogues typically do, but Orthodox, not so much. But I don't see a choir here or...
No, we don't.
There are different denominations of Judaism. You've got Reform, you got Conservative, you got Modern Orthodox, Ultra Orthodox, and this synagogue that we're in now accommodates to the main denominations: Orthodox, Reform, Progressive. So
I actually grew up in Conservative, which is sort of in the middle.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
it's great. So let's see. Okay, cool. Awesome woodwork, Val is saying.
Yeah.
Do more Jews live in Launceston than Hobart? No. Hobart's
the center of the Jewish population.
Yeah.
If you call it that. And it's not like the States or even parts of Melbourne or Sydney where there are specific suburbs or neighborhoods that are particularly Jewish. It's all sort of scattered throughout.
Peter, Marilyn is saying, would you please show and explain the everlasting light and the ark?
Sure. We can look at the Sefer Torah on the ark.
All right. And I'll remind you all that half of the tips will go towards the synagogue as a donation.
These are our Sefer Torahs. These two here are believed to go to the 19th century.
Wow.
It came from by England, I believe. You can see this is called a yod, a pointer, which so the reader can point to the part of the Torah that they're reading. Now this one back here, take a good look at. So that's what we call our silver Sephardic Torah. So the story behind that is in the 1950s, we had a German refugee named Hans Jacob, who was a successful business person. He processed fruit for fruit juice and things like that. Yeah. And he was in India on business, and he met someone in a lady, Rachel Ezra, of the Indian Jewish community, who took an interest in our small congregation and kindly donated the silver Sephardic Torah. So it came from India, but we believe it's from Syria originally. And so like in the 1950s, we had a special ceremony to dedicate this new Torah. As you can see, it looks quite different than the other Torahs. It's not actually kosher. We don't actually use it to read out, but it makes for a very nice display.
So what do you mean by saying it's not kosher?
It's the parchment where the words and the prayers of the Torah are, I think, are not in the best condition. So it's not deemed as kosher that you can't actually use it as part of the service.
Yeah.
We would need to have it repaired and fixed, which I think because we have ones that are in good condition. We have actually repaired these two at some relatively recently. We use those.
Wow. So the first Jews to arrive in Australia arrived in New South Wales, in Sydney, right? Back in obviously 1788 or in the late 1700s.
Yeah, I think there may have been some that came to New South Wales before here, but we know that excuse me, I don't know the exact year, but we know the first fleet to Van Diemen's Land over Jews on that ship as well.
Yeah. So despite that, this shul is still older than any shul in Sydney.
Well, it's interesting you ask because, so this, as you said, it was consecrated in 1845. There was a synagogue in Sydney, the York Street Synagogue, which was actually opened in 1844. But that one did not survive past the 1870s. The congregation eventually merged into what's now the Great Synagogue, which is a beautiful synagogue in Sydney.
Yeah.
I think that it was just taken down on this, so it didn't make it past the 1870s. So if you want to get technical, we're the oldest active synagogue.
Yes, continuous.
Yes,
absolutely.
We were meant to have our son. So July 4th, 2020, we were meant to have our 175th anniversary. It was a lot planned, a lot of people invited. Oh, no. And of course, because of COVID, it didn't happen.
Bad time,
we had a little.
July was like deep in. Hey?
Yeah, we had a little internal, because actually Tasmania was in fine shape then. We had a little internal celebration, but
Sure. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, let's quickly sift through. Dan, that's absolutely beautiful. So Shoshana is saying, to the right of the ark, there is a Chanukiah. It isn't a menorah, which only has 7 arms. Yes, that is true. It's a Chanukiah. It's pretty cool. And Hanukkah is only a stone throw away.
Yes.
I do have a special tour for them for Hanukkah. It'll be. Have you been to Melbourne recently?
About 6 years.
Okay, well, there's Federation Square, so they've got this huge Hanukkah ceremony there. So,
you might want to, So this is not something you see in synagogues. Perhaps the only synagogue in the world. These are believed to be convict benches.
Oh wow! So, as in convicts were only allowed to sit on these benches.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Obviously, they don't have a back. Just sort of rustic benches.
Right, so they didn't have this backrest at the time? Or they did?
Well, there's not a backrest on it. It's just
like,
okay. Yeah, it's not connected.
Oh, it's not connected, right. So, but were they situated here?
Yeah, we don't know exactly. Probably in the back, I think.
Oh, wow.
So we do know, we have documented evidence that we petitioned the government to let the Jewish prisoners. So, I mean, there were a lot of convicts that were members of the congregation, but then the prisoners who I suppose reoffended or were under more guard.
Yeah.
We put in. We asked that they be able to attend like Yom Kippur or Shabbat services, and we do know that they were able to attend, and it's believed that they sat on these benches. The other congregation members sat in the pews here, and you may want to look at these. This is the Star of David, the Magen David. There's a number on it. 22.
Yeah. And 21, etc.
So those they represent the seat numbers. So the congregation member could pay a special fee and what was called a seat hire. So, like they want to hire seat 20, you pay a subscription fee, and that's your seat.
Yeah.
That's not an issue anymore. We could basically sit wherever we want.
I like that system better. Beautiful. I just had Yeah, and it's also important to remember not all convicts that came here were in shackles and were, confined to prisons. It was a very small percentage. Most convicts, were obviously sentenced to hard work, but they were allowed to roam.
You also have to think of the geography as well. We're an island that has a lot of wilderness or bush, so there wasn't really a whole lot of places for them to go to.
Exactly. And those that did try to escape in the wilderness didn't do very well. So, okay. Any central heating since this place is so cold?
So, I think I might have mentioned before, we're the oldest and coldest. We do have these panels here and some other portable heaters, but as you can appreciate, being an old 1845 heritage building, putting in central heating would be quite...
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, you can just dress warm, I guess.
Yeah, we often are wearing our winter jackets.
So yes, Beth, they have both Orthodox and progressive services each week, absolutely, which is what I love about this shul, is they accommodate for both denominations. Let's see, a lot of thank yous from people. GJ's asking, so the rabbi back then would be a convict too?
No. They had what were called then ministers who would come from England.
Yeah.
But it is sort of based on that is that we know there's documented that we petitioned the chief rabbi in London at the time to ask if convicts could be part of a minyan and also be able to have an aliyah to be called up to the Torah. And the answer is that they could be part of a minyan, but could not be called up to the Torah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's, some interesting issues.
Little details.
Yeah,
absolutely. We've had a couple of questions. I was trying to avoid that, but we'll ask him anyway. What about anti-Semitism in Hobart? Is that an issue? Or has been throughout history?
Well, if you want to talk throughout history, from what we understand is that, going back to the 19th century, that from reports in the media and all, it seems like that the Jews were accepted and welcome here. There was a lot of respect towards events such as the consecration and general respect towards our members of being important, respected members of the community. If you want to advance to current day, look, there have been some things that have happened in the past couple of years. Just in April 2021 at Parliament House, which is obviously a very important building here in Hobart, it was written Hail Hitler and Kristallnacht.
Oh, God.
Which, for those who don't know, Kristallnacht was known as the Night of Broken Glass back in Germany, and when the Germans pillaged all the synagogues and broke building Jewish businesses and all. So that, certainly got our attention. And, there's been some other graffiti or stickers of white nationalist groups. So we're definitely on guard. We actually just got a very generous government grant to improve our CCTV and security.
Congratulations for that.
Yeah, we're very happy about that.
Yeah.
So yes, we certainly are cautious and know what's going on around the world. And I'm sure if you asked the Muslim community in Christchurch if they felt safe in 2018, they probably were they weren't expecting something like that to happen. So we try to put a focus on security. We are 100%. Fortunate to be surrounded literally by the police headquarters,
yes.
which we appreciate, but there's still we can't be complacent.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Jeff, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
I might just do a little walk around. Last question: any Jewish schools in Hobart?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I am going to my kids' kindergarten class and going to do a Hanukkah display. But
that's nice.
Spin the dreidel around, maybe serve some latkes.
That's how you do it. That's good.
Besides the once a month Sunday program, and I think Chabad might have some program up north, but there's no formal Jewish school in Tasmania. So it is quite a challenge, because it's very important that we want my kids and other parents' kids, we want to raise them in the tradition and all, but not having a rabbi or a huge community here, it's challenging.
Oh, absolutely, I bet. Okay, so you're getting a lot of people saying thank you, which is great. We'll give the questions a rest for a second there, my friends, because let's just take a moment to just soak in the visual beauty of this. And I want to remind you, if you can't tip, it's fine. Don't feel uncomfortable about it. It's okay. But if you can, then you can leave us a tip, and half of all tips will go towards the synagogue, and then I'll also put in my own contribution. So, and you can also go to their website and contribute however you'd like. So let's do a little walk around. We'll explore the interior, and you can also follow my channel. You click on the follow button up here somewhere, so you just don't miss out. I've got a lot of more stuff coming up. I'll be heading to the Melbourne's oldest shul sometime late in December, so we'll do that. But this shul is extremely special. Don't remember being this excited about a tour in a long time. So this is fantastic. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a little walk. Look at the windows. Look at everything. So we'll do a little walk around and soak it in. We'll just give Jeff a bit of a break from all these questions. I'll just check this out. And do we have? I'm assuming we have a few Jewish voyagers in here. This is a beautiful shot. of the shul. These are the holy scriptures. That's right, Ruth. Siddur. What is the quote on the top of the synagogue that was in Hebrew again?
Out front?
Yeah, out front.
It says, wherever you go, I will come and bless you.
I love it so much.
Yeah, we know it was there when the synagogue was consecrated.
Wherever you go, I will come and bless you. It's beautiful. And this is in memory of those who perished in the Holocaust. And we'll just walk around. That's okay, Jen. Great to have you here. These are members, relatives, and friends who have passed away. This is an interesting little corner. You've got the scriptures over here. These look very old. Festival prayers, atonement service for Yom Kippur. Here's an Old Testament. This is what Hebrew looks like, right to left. And it's customary to wash your hands very often, especially before you're eating in Judaism. So this is for ritual hand washing. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And here, if you do come in person, and if you're lucky enough to have Jeff show you around this beautiful synagogue, you can also leave a donation. And lastly, I'll show you this. So are these the original talus, original shofar?
I'm not sure if it's original. It goes back to 1845, but this one goes back quite a while.
Yeah, well, yeah. It looks like it's old. It's beautiful. And this is a shofar, which you blow into in the new year, Rosh Hashanah. This is for Hanukkah. And here's a little piece of paper, Jewish history in Hobart. And I'll give you a little 360 now of the synagogue, and then we'll part ways, my friends, and you can get on with your evenings or afternoons or mornings, or if you're in the middle of the night for you. I especially appreciate that. So let me just... Yes, Shoshana, in Reform Judaism, women also count towards a minyan, exactly. Women can lead services. There are no restrictions on that end at all. And Randy, on the way out, I'll show you the Hebrew. Not a question about that. I'll just take one more shot. Prepare your postcard buttons. And check this out. It's beautiful. Da ifnei mi'ata omed. So here it says on the top in Hebrew, Da ifnei mi'ata omed, which means know who you are standing in front of. Pretty cool. And Ruth is saying, Alex, there are several egalitarian Orthodox congregations in Israel. Yes, and in the US. I definitely can imagine that. Not in Australia. I shouldn't be speaking on behalf of the world. Shoshana, can you ask if they have a rabbi on the high holidays?
We have a service leader who comes down from Melbourne who teaches at the King David School, a Jewish school there.
Yeah.
He's not a rabbi, but
yeah,
he does an excellent job of the services.
Beautiful. Well, Thanks, Jeff. I'll show them the inscription on top of the synagogue. We'll end the tour, and then I'll come back and I'll say goodbye to you properly. Okay, guys, let's just step out. I'll show you the sign outside the shore. Katie, yes, I do, Katie. Katie, yes. So we'll let's step out now, and then I'll say goodbye to you guys, and I'll step in. I'll say goodbye to Jeff. Okay, I'll show you what the synagogue looks like from outside. Oh no, my kippah! Let me just quickly. Sorry, guys. Let me just open the gate. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate And this is the inscription on the top. It says, "B'chol hamakom asher askir, et shmi avo elecha b'chatecha," which basically says what he translates everywhere. You go, I will be there. In other words, beautiful, beautiful synagogue, lovely. One of you asked about the ADL. We do have the ADC here in Australia, the Anti-Defamation Commission, which started off as a sister, or as a child brain of the ADL, and now it's an independent organization. Thanks, James. Yes, I did study it, but my mum taught me as well. Guys, thank you so much. I really did enjoy this. I'm going to step in now and properly say goodbye to Jeff. So thank you very much for your time. I really, really, really appreciate it. And half of all the tips will go to, thank you to all of you. We'll go to the synagogue. And let's see. Thank you so much, guys. Can you get a full view? Let's see, I can't really cross the road because there are no traffic lights and we're literally right next to a police station. But I'll try to do it as best as I can. So I'll pan down. And this is the shore. So my friends, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your company. I appreciate your support, your energy. I hope to see more of you. It's my pleasure. Thank you, all of you, for your positivity and for your interest. Honestly, means a lot. And honestly, thank you so much. It was honestly an amazing experience. Enjoy the rest of your day or night. I hope to see more of you, so don't forget to follow my channel so you don't miss out. Check out future tours I have, because I'll be exploring churches. If you like the spiritual history, I'll be exploring churches in Melbourne, and then I'll be exploring, hopefully, if we can make a time, the synagogue, inside the synagogue, Melbourne's main and oldest synagogue. So, join me for those. It'll be great, and I appreciate you guys. By the way, great questions, my friends. I am half the interviewer without you, so thank you. Thanks for the great questions. All right, guys, love you. Take care, and we'll speak soon. Don't forget, albino wallabies in 2 days. 2 days. That'll be a lot of fun. Toda.